Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to a new video, new session. And this would be the fourth video for this particular subject. This is a second semester B.Ed answers, important answers or frequently coming answers, questions that are for the subject of techniques, methods, and approaches of pedagogy. It's a common subject, so we have already covered 3 videos for 15 marks question. I hope with those 15 questions, at least 5 questions would appear anytime, every time. So we are giving certain additional questions so that it could be more helpful. So let's start. As I say, if you're not interested in the audio feed, you can please mute it and go through the questions, take a screenshot, print out, and learn. You can also refer additional books and sources. So let's start the video. Okay. So let's cruise in and start with the first question. 16th question, distinguish between inductive and deductive method. So I have given more than 5 points of comparison or the distinguishing points. So you can have lesser than that. So the inductive method gives knowledge, whereas deduction doesn't give knowledge. Actually, you're deducing something, the way by, for example, of deductive method is like you go, if someone is, standing there with an uniform, you come to know that you're deducing that that guy is a person of an uniform, whether it is a policeman. So this is by looking at it, you're deducing it. It's a simple example. So inductive method, this method is method of discovery. You discover. This method is verification. Deductive method is verification. Child acquires first-hand knowledge and information by actual observation. Child gets ready-made information, makes use of it. As I told you, right? Like if you're inductive method, wherein you go and just show that the policeman wears this kind of dress, this is a police station, you are showing him. So it's learned by that way. So it's a first-hand information, actually observing. But here you already know certain have information and knowledge, and then you're just making use of it to recognize that this so and so person is that. So you're deducing that. It trains the mind and gives independent knowledge. It encourages dependence on other sources. It is an upward process of thought and leads to principles, whereas deductive method, it is a downward process of thought and leads to useful results. In inductive method, it includes analysis of things. Here, your synthesis of matter. You don't analyze, you synthesize the information that you have. This method is most convenient for beginners, that is an inductive method, whereas it is deductive method, because you have to have certain kind of knowledge, so it will not be applicable for the lower classes or people with lesser and beginners. You have to have certain information and knowledge to be good at a deduction. This inductive method involves modification, whereas deductive method doesn't involve any modification. So you can go through these points, whichever are easy, 5 to 6 points, you can just remember them and write those same points. Let's go to the next question. What is a discovery approach? Explain its merit and demerit. Discovery approach is an approach of teaching. It is also called an inquiry approach. What does discovery do? You discover new things. There was a sea route discovered to India. It's not invention. You're not inventing a sea route, but it was a discovery that it's actually there, but only you're not aware of it. You're learning it actually. How you are learning? By inquiring. It can be described as a method of teaching and learning with help of which learners try to find out something which was unknown to them earlier. The land, the planet, sun, earth, moon, everything was there from the beginning. Only thing is humans didn't know it. So we are learning daily and day out. So what it is made up of, what the sun is made up of, what the earth is made up of, how it works, what is the orbit, what revolves. This all information was there. Only there we are learning it day by day. So discovery is a process of self-learning in which learner generate concepts and ideas with little teacher's intervention. So mostly we discover, like teachers, everything is not taught here. There is little help from the teachers, but then students learn by themselves. So let's go to the merits of discovery approach. Discovery approach increases intellectual potential of the learner because you are doing it self-learning, right? There is little help from the students. So it certainly will increase the intellectual potential of the learner. It is based on intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic motivation. It helps intrinsic motivation, as it comes from within, right? The motivation to discover something comes from, so someone will not tell you that, come, let's discover something. That will be a little bit less motivating than something if there is a inner urge from the learner to, uh, discover something, learn something new. So then that is more uh, driving force than, someone telling you to discover something. It helps student to learn, to organize and conduct investigation. It helps memory retention. It becomes student-centric approach. It develops talent among students. It helps in accumulating more information in less time. Whereas certain demerits are there, as everything that comes with merits do also has some demerits. So the some of the demerits is it's very time consuming, because when you are self-learning and self-discovering, you don't have any, when it's a new thing and you're discovering something, it's not that easy, right? It has to be factually correct. So, and you build on the learning step by step based on the fundamentals or the education you already have. With that, you build on the new thing. So it's a time consuming thing. So, and the science textbooks are not adequate for employing learning. Science syllabus is limited. It does not promote inquiry learning. So science teachers are not properly trained to guide studies learning through inquiry. We are taking this as an example from a point of view of a science teacher. So you can also put this merits, important demerits, such as it's time consuming, and when it is discovery, because it is first time, no one else has approached it, so there will be limited references and resources and textbooks for it. You will not be having that. Whatever you discover, once it is authenticated and verified and established, then that will be part of some textbook or some resource material, but not until then. So that is one demerit over here. And to find a proper guide or a teacher to help you, in establishing or coming up with something is also not very often a possibility. Let's go to the next question. Explain merits and demerits of inquiry approach. Let's go with the merits first. So what does inquiry method do? Students gain practical experience because they're inquiring, and they get practical experience. Work integrated learning is applied in applied learning, is as an applied learning. Students bring new ideas, innovation to the work table. Involves active learning and student engagement. There is a lot of engagement here in this term, because there is a lot of inquiry, there is a lot of interest, lot of questions, right? Like doubts. Personalized and differentiated learning is encouraged. Motivation and self-directed learning is promoted. Outcome of this development of critical thinking is developed here, because students are not just taking what is being taught to them, they are inquiring, they are questioning what is taught. If they have doubts and what the teacher is saying correct, that will be clarified. If they are having doubts, the teacher is incorrect, and because the teacher is incorrect, then it will help to remember and get a discussion and get your doubts cleared. So it's a very good method of learning. Whereas certain demerits are there. Most of the demerits is a common demerit. It's that certain, when you say demerits, there is always a time consuming. This is one point, because it's a demerit, right? So many places, whenever there is a paper, you can just remember that one point you can say the demerit is it takes a lot of time. Anything it is, whether it is discovery method, inquiry method, interview method, some theories related to time consuming will be one part of it. Accessing students learning in inquiry based classroom can be complex. Assessing student learning to assess in an inquiry-based classroom is very complex. It is argued that inquiry-based approach may not cover content as comprehensively as traditional methods. So just by inquiring, because you have to know what has to be inquired, right? Student will not be knowing everything teacher has. So until and unless you just are your education is only dependent on inquiry-based method, then there is a lot that the students will miss out and the teacher will miss out. This one more demerit. Let's go to the next question. What is questioning? What are the advantages and disadvantages of questioning technique? So again, the questioning, everyone know what questioning is. Questioning is an important tool. It's a device of teaching. It's a tool, right? You question, you get answer, there's an interaction, you learn, you understand, new ideas are new ideas have come up. You encourage new ideas, new perceptions, right? The way I look at a car can be different than someone else looking at a car, right? There's perceptions, right? I see only the green or red color in it and the tires in it. Someone might look at the aerodynamics of it. Some will look at the different, compare it with some other, so questioning is an important tool. So questioning is an activity that helps the teacher in effective teaching. It benefits both teachers as well as students in teaching learning situation. When we say questioning, it is not only the questioning part from the student, it's the questioning part from the teachers as well, right? So what are the advantages? It can be used in all teaching situations, right? Whether it is, formal, non-formal, whether it is in field activities, anywhere you can question, you can use this technique. It helps in developing power of expression of the student. It helpful in ascertaining personal difficulties of the students. It provides check on preparation of assignments. It helps in teacher to check understanding level of the student and motivates them to develop various interests. There are many advantages of questioning techniques. Some disadvantages, as I mentioned, whenever there is a demerit or disadvantages, be free to add one point that it is time consuming. So here also, if you see the fourth point, it's time consuming. It requires a lot of skills on the part of teacher to make a proper use of this method. This method generally is quite embracing of timid student, embarrassing for timid students. If you are shy and all, you are not able to, if your teacher directly questions you and don't have stage, you have stage fright, you're timid, you're shy, then this becomes like very embarrassing or very discomfortable for students, right? Like that. If you don't have stage fright and you are very confident, then that will increase your level of thinking and also make you more confident. But certain students are shy. Like it'll make them conscious of themselves. So these are the disadvantages. You can go through them. Finally, coming to the last question of this session, discuss the content analysis theories and rules. So content, what is the content in education? So content is nothing but what you have to study, the content of the syllabus or the textbooks. So content analysis is described as a scientific study of content of communication. It is study of content with reference to the meaning, context, and intentions contained in the messages. Okay. Content analysis may be seen as a method where the content of the message forms the basis of drawing inferences and conclusions about the content. It is considered an unobtrusive or non-reactive method of social research. So basically, what is objectivity, systematic? Like any other research, content comes from three basic principles of scientific method. They are objectivity. The content should have some objectivity. It should be systematic, and generalizability. Like it can be generalized to anything. Studies usually involve what are the steps of content analysis? Or rules, you can say. So formulation of research questions and objectives, selection of communication content and example, developing content categories, finalizing units of analysis, preparing a coding schedule, pilot testing, and checking intercode reliability, analyzing the data. Certain questions, the answers that I have been able to collate or come up, it was very difficult to find answers to them. So I have tried my best to get the most suitable answers. So you can that can be used. So if you find it a little difficult, so I would suggest to read it a couple of times more rather than just reading it once. So that's all, I guess. So we'll get in touch in another video. So these are 20 questions are done. So this slide, there's a correction. It should have been 21 to 25. There is any other video to come up. So stay tuned, happy learning, and bye all for your time. Keep supporting us on this channel and subscribe. Thank you.